Dear Lorraine, thank you very much for accepting my invitation and joining the Breakfast at Kuznach series. We are here at the Jung Institute in Kuznach, in the Punzimmer, which is very famous for the exams. I would like to start asking you the first question I always ask. Who was Carl Gustav Jung?
Okay, I think Carl Gustav Jung was a kind of a prophet because what he has written, even I think of the Red Book, for instance, was always really going further in our time, and he also wrote so many things about present and future. So I think in that way, he was a kind of a mystic man, and well, I think just a man, a great man, living here near Küsnacht. That's why I like so much to come to Küsnacht, because I have the feeling that his spirit is still here near the lake. And I don't know, it made me come from Canada to Switzerland, it's like he made me cross the big ocean.
Psychoanalysts are fond of dreams.
Yeah.
What are dreams?
Dreams are beautiful stories speaking about each individual, going back to the beginning of time and of their own time. And sometimes it looks like to me either like a big scene, like a theater or a movie, film scene, where all the figures are kind of the archetypes playing together, and also the yes, they look like also kind of fairy tales sometimes, there are some figures unknown, sometimes so close to our life. People visiting us, what are they? Are they really produced by the brain or something else? So I like very much to work with dreams. And,
How can we use dreams in the context of our daily life?
yes, I use sometimes to live with my dreams during the day. Especially when big dreams, you are just like, wow, what was that, and just you swallow it, and say, wow, I had this dream, and what was this figure, and sometimes it changes also our way of looking at what we are doing.
What are big dreams? Because I know what are big dreams, but for those listening to us, it would be interesting to underline what is a big dream and what, in a perhaps wrong way, a non-big dream, a small dream, or a dream, a daily life.
A daily life dream,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, a daily life dream, I think we have nearly all the time. I said big dreams, but big dreams because they stay with us longer. But they are not necessarily archetypal dreams. There are some. I had one or two in my life that were really meaningful, but I received also from time to time an archetypal dream from someone. But big dreams sometimes are just a turning point in someone's life. Yeah.
I have the feelings that people that have never met an analyst have the tendency to either get scared about a dream
Oh, yes.
and or dismiss it.
Yes.
What could we say to these people?
Well, I when they come and say, well, I never dream, it's
I
not,
think.
I
never
think,
dream. I think.
I think it's, and then I tell them that, well, our brain is really producing dreams every night, just that we do not remind them. But I think that, like Freud said, we dream for someone. So with the analyst, we have someone to share them. And a few weeks later, maybe even the next night, they have a dream, and they can remember the dream and put them in a little book, and then come to the analysis with it. But I think that people are scared because some figures are kind of dark, and then we do not like to see us like dark people, or something will happen to us, or maybe we have this feeling that this is kind of divinatory. And if you dream uh, of a big bear, maybe you think, well, I will have an accident or something like that, so I knew a woman, she said, every time I dream of this, then someone dies, so she doesn't like to remind her dreams because maybe someone will die in her family.
You mentioned a few minutes ago fairy tales and the use of fairy tales. Fairy tales are very important for Jung,
Yeah.
for von Franz to continue this work. Why are so
Wow.
important?
Well, I read many fairy tales when I was a child, and I think that is one point that I like in Jungian psychology. Fairy tales, I also knew Marie-Louise von Franz. She was my examiner for fairy tales. And I even went to her last lesson here.
On the cat? Was it
No,
on the cat?
or one of the last on the shadow in fairy tales. Well, fairy tales are very important because they speak about the soul, but in the collective way, it's like I like to think that fairy tales are to the collective what dreams are for individuals. So the community and the humanity is dreaming through fairy tales, and there are so many versions, of the same fairy tale. For instance, I've worked a lot on the La Belle et la Bête, and
The Beast and the Beauty.
Beast and Beauty, and starting with Eros or Amor and Psyche, So why is the humanity dreaming like that, and what does it mean for the growth of people, This morning I was on the tram and was looking all these people, what is the meaning, and what are fairy tales saying? And today I'm teaching on fairy tales in the second half of life, and they are not like the fairy tales Marie-Louise von Franz worked on. They are not the magical or very marvelous, wonderful tales. They are just so simple tales of people, lacking money or getting old or sick, or, and what is happening to them. And it's very interesting because in these fairy tales, there are nearly no fairies. They are just, sometimes the dog and the cat are helpful, and we see how these people are growing through the just daily life, simple daily life problems, making shoes and finding, well, we are now knowing it and suddenly being grateful and to have them. This is a fairy tale in Grimm that the shoemaker during the night as the elves help him, and then when they see how it is going on, because they sell a lot of shoes, they say, well, maybe who is helping us? And then they see the elves, and the elves are naked. And the wife says, we will knit something for them, When they received it for Christmas, they never came again. So sometimes, we go through life thinking, well, we are successful and it's nice. Sometimes I am grateful, for instance, for myself, to my parents, and life is nice for me. I'm coming to Zurich, all this, But some days It's not like that. Magics don't work, you know, and must work a lot. Well, through these helpful forces within us, you know, that we learned maybe when we were younger.
It's interesting what you said that most of the time in fairy tales there are no fairies.
Yeah,
Actually, in Italian we say fiaba,
yeah,
fable.
yeah,
And this makes me think, you mentioned the concept of meaning.
yeah,
Perhaps in those fairy tales where there is no fairy,
yeah,
the numinous, instead of the fairy, we could talk about the numinous, something holy, something that goes beyond logic and rational explication, happen and makes a change.
well,
A
it's
change.
not even so. I'm not sure there are so many luminous. Sometimes I think today I will have one that is very luminous, I would say. Okay.
Bring in light.
But I think that these fairy tales in the second half of life speak about death. Death is coming, you know, and we are just there, you know, and we, let's say people are 50, 60, sometimes it is an old couple or old women, old man. So old woman, old man now, you know, it's more than 60, 70, you know, and they are just kind of being with the rest of their life and they have to transmit what they received. This is one of the meaning. And then they
Becoming generative.
yeah, generative, yeah. And all and also preparing for that. Or trying to know what is there, you know.
You said you had the fairy tale exam with Marie-Louise Bonfrance, that she gave classes, obviously, here about fairy tales. What is your memory of her?
Oh, my memory of her, I have many memories of her. And she how would I say? She was an old woman. Well, though she was only 65 or 70, but I was 40, so and she was kind of a peasant woman for me, you know, but with such an intelligence, you know, and she understood quite well what I've written. She was also the expert for my thesis. My thesis was on the fairy tale, the goose girl at the well. Okay, and she was so sympathetic, you know, empathic with me and saying that, well, this was good. She liked to read it. I should write a book. I've never done it yet, and you know, and explaining to me with her French. She was speaking French. So instead of saying loi, she was saying la loi, you know. But it was going like that. I have nearly always compared her to Yolande Jacobi. But because when we came to Switzerland in 72, Yolande Jacobi was still alive. She died in the following months. But she was always beautifully dressed with a nice necklace and going to students' parties and, you know, and really more extroverted. Van France was an introvert and she was really very good in what she did, but she was also strict, you know. She asked questions and we did not answer. She did not give such a good mark, you know. And this is my memory. People speaking a lot about her, and analysts, some of my analysts worked with her, and they respected her so much, you know. And so she was always there, you know, kind of. Her spirit was here too, you know, like Jung.
You are an expert on mandalas.
Well, I'm not sure.
You know a lot about mandalas. Let's
Yes,
rephrase it like
let's
this. What are mandalas?
Oh, mandalas are sacred circles and with the center. And in Jungian psychology, we feel this center is like the self, you know. And if I work on mandalas, I like mandalas, but once I was in Quebec, I think at the end of the 90s, and I met an old man, you know, very simple man. He was nearly hidden in a room, you know. And I went to him and he said he was doing some pictures of mandalas. And he told me that he was living in France, he was giving seminars. So I went to his seminar. I think it was in 90, I would think it was 91 or something like that. And I went to the seminar in France, 1 week seminar, silence, painting 7 hours a day, meditating, and making a mandala 1 meter on 1 meter. Okay, just following, you know, because you did one with me, or you will make one, but you know, starting not at the center, but you know, with the border, and then coming to this part of the temple where is the altar. Then you know, I followed more seminars with him, and I started to do them because probably he's dead now. He was quite an old man. He was 85 at that time, you know, and made me think a lot of mandalas, of what Jung says about mandalas, always coming back. Jung, I think, in nearly all his papers, he speaks about mandalas. And then I came close to the Buddhist community, and I've seen more of the mandalas. But of course, I do not understand everything, and I am an expert, but a little expert. You know, I'm not knowing all, because you must be initiated. For instance, in the Buddhist community, and the monks who learn how to make this beautiful mandalas in initiations like at Kalachakra, you know, they work 3-4 years just to learn how to do it, you know, and starting the center, going to the other world, I would say, because, well, they are not using colors or paints, they are using powders. So you cannot come from the outside to the center. You have to start there and go. You know, it's like the rays are going to the entrance of the temple. Does it answer the question?
It does, I think.
Okay.
It's your way to answer the question, of course. In your work, you use projective cards.
Yeah, especially with groups.
What are projective cards?
Projective cards, well, were created by a psychologist and some friends who would like that art is in the people's pocket, you know, not only big pictures on a wall, and then work like, well, when I see this wheel or this nice spider like I've seen this morning, or this horrible burning man, you know, what is it saying to me? So the cards are just small, like usual playing cards. They are not tarot, so we do not predict the future with them, but just like maybe even we do not choose them, they chose us. You know, this picture, oh yes, I've seen it, I've taken it, and then why did I choose that? You know, what is there? So I work with the cards to make groups, they are kind of icebreakers. People meet with the cards and they have the same, have the same picture, and then we go with 4 and 8, and I heard in some places people work with more than 100 people with the cards, you know. But in the session, if someone doesn't speak, has no dream, doesn't want to paint or to do something, sometimes I take some cards and ask them, what would you choose? What is your life? Or how do you feel today? And it's very interesting what people pick and what they say about the card, and then we can connect to their own life, or maybe even it will come that, oh yes, I had a dream, and so maybe I can say more about the cards because there are many sets of cards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have seen it last year or last October. Um, there are some games to work on stress. So you have cards with stressful situations and not stressful, was the person, the client, to choose a card that is like his situation actually. Is it stressful to you? Yes, then, and would you choose one that is not? And then there are a certain pack of cards in the same box with animals. And what would you choose to help you in this stressful situation? And then you choose an eagle or a horse or a camel, and then you see what's going on. So with uh, my knowledge, I would ask the person, and then let's say you are this eagle. How is it to be an eagle? So it's like going to active imagination also.
It's very interesting. If we reach in the end of this conversation, we talked about dreams, we talked about fairy tale, and now projective cards.
Yeah.
But you always need a mirror. You always need an expert.
Yeah.
An expert between commas,
Yeah.
but someone that can help you
Yeah.
to show you, to help you to see what you're not able to see.
Yeah.
Because with a dream, with the fairy tales, even when you pick a projective card, you are in your unconscious.
Yeah.
And you need someone else to bring these to
Yeah.
the conscious realm.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is a medium, the analyst is there, or sometimes in a group can be another participant who says, well, but do you remember this? Or because all the people can also project not only one on certain cards, or people would like to take the same card. So some cards are also done to make stories. There are some cards for fairy tales, myths, 1001 Nights, Arabian Nights. It's called 1001. And sometimes I ask the group to write a story or to make a story. So it's also helping to go to imagination.
Thank you, Lorraine. It's
Thank
been
you.
fantastic to listen to you and to know more about especially projective cards.
Thank you.